When my daughter asked the question, it was in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon while I was folding laundry. "Mama," she said, holding her tablet loosely in her hands, "why does Aunt Rachel have Dad's wedding ring?" I didn't look up at first, was trying to match socks. "What?" I said, distracted. She repeated it, patiently. Children do when adults don't understand fast enough. On her hand. In her picture. It looks like Daddy's ring. My hands stopped moving. I stared at the blue sock in my fingers as if it had suddenly become something unfamiliar. That's not Daddy's ring," I said automatically. She shrugged. "It looks the same. The scratch is there." That was when I looked at her. She wasn't trying to accuse anyone. She wasn't even curious in a dramatic way. It was just something she had noticed, like noticing that the sky was cloudy. I smiled too quickly. "Finish your homework, sweetheart." She nodded and walked away. I waited until she was in her room before I went to our bedroom. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Rings look similar. That children imagine things. That I was tired. Still, my hands were shaking when I opened the jewelry box. Inside everything looked normal. Cufflinks, a watch, old receipts, a small velvet slot where his ring usually sat, and there it was, his wedding ring. Except it wasn't. It was lighter. The engraving inside was wrong. The tiny dent near the edge, the one he'd gotten when he dropped it in the parking lot years ago, was missing. I sat on the bed and held it in my palm, feeling stupid for not noticing sooner. I had stopped checking. Somewhere along the way, I had decided trust meant not looking too closely. That night, I didn't say anything. I watched him eat dinner, watched him help our daughter with math. I watched him scroll through his phone, laughing at something he didn't share. Kissed my forehead before bed. "Long day?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. It wasn't a lie. Over the next week, I became very quiet, not in a dramatic way, just observant. I noticed how often he mentioned Rachel casually, how he defended her quickly in conversations, how she suddenly had money for renovations, how she stopped calling me unless he was nearby. I went through old photos, then bank statements, then archived emails. Nothing obvious at first, just patterns. Overlapping trips, shared expenses labeled strangely, transfers that were always temporary. I finally asked him one evening when our daughter was asleep, "Did you give Rachel your ring?" He didn't answer right away. He laughed first. "Why would I do that?" "Because she's wearing it." "She's not." "She is." He sighed. "You're imagining things." That was when I knew, not because of what he said, because of how quickly he said it. No curiosity, no surprise, just dismissal. I didn't argue. I stopped asking. Instead, I called a lawyer. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not my friends, not even myself fully. I told myself I was just getting information. The lawyer listened quietly, then asked me for documents. I gave them. More than I expected. He nodded. "There's a pattern here," he said. A month later, husband received a letter. Asset review. Temporary freeze. Request for financial disclosure. He stared at it at the kitchen table like it was written in another language. "What is this?" he asked. I poured myself tea. "Transparency," I said. "Rachel called me that night. Crying, accusing, begging. 'You're destroying the family,' she said. Said nothing. The mediator's office was small and smelled like old carpet. They sat on one side. I sat on the other. Documents were placed between us, messages printed, timelines highlighted, numbers circled in red. No one yelled. No one needed to. The truth sat there, neatly organized. 3 years. Shared accounts. A secret agreement. The real ring. He tried to explain. Stress. Loneliness. I listened. I didn't interrupt. Because none of it changed what was written on paper. The settlement took months. Our marriage didn't survive it, not dramatically. We didn't scream, we just stopped pretending. Rachel moved away. We don't speak. My daughter knows only that her parents live in different houses now. She knows we both love her. That is enough for her. For me, came quieter, not happier right away. Just steadier. I learned how to read contracts, how to ask questions, how to sit in silence without filling it for someone else's comfort. Sometimes I still think about the ring, about how something so small carried so much deception, about how I wore my trust without examining it. I don't hate them, don't forgive them either. I live somewhere in between. My daughter once asked me if I was sad. I told her, sometimes. But I'm also okay, and that was the truth. Because I didn't win, I didn't lose. I learned, and I kept my dignity.